Hello. Um, Today we'll be learning about questions. Now, I'm sure you all know what questions are. So you ask questions, and in English language, the most famous question technique is called WH questions. Now, WH stands for what, why, who, when, where, and how. Now, why do you ask WH questions, or why do you ask questions at all? First of all, you ask them when you want to find out about something, right? So, when you want to search for information, whether it's on the internet or in the library, in books and newspapers, so you always have these questions that you like to find out the answers of for these questions. So, how did it happen? Where did it happen? How will it react if it's a scientific process, and if it's history, or it can be just any topic. And you also use them in conversation when you talk to people, like how do you do, what did you do last night, where did you come from, all these sort of questions. um, you ask questions first when you want to understand something, or when you want to do your research, do some investigations on certain things, you want to find out about something. So that's what questions are for. Now, in English language, you may use what we call as question matrix. It's a tool that will help you to create your own questions. Now, when you look at this Q matrix here, question matrix, there are two panels. This is the first panel, the one on the top, and then there's another panel on the left side of it. So if you look at the left panel, if you look at the panel on the left side, uh, it has the WH question: what, where, when, who, why, and how. And when you look at the top panel, it has the word is, did, can, would, will, might. So if you combine these two, you are able to create questions. For example, what is the name of the car? What did you do during last Christmas? What can I do for you? What will happen if we had missed our flight? What will happen if we don't sleep for a week? And the last one, what might happen if we decide if if we decide to do something else other than the one that we usually do? So all of these help you to create questions. And of course, you can just pick anything. When will we be able to meet again? So when will we be able to meet again? Who will be brave enough to steal the diamond? Who would be brave enough to steal the diamond? And how? How did it happen? How did World War II happen? So you can refer to this to guide you in creating your own questions. Now, why do you have to create your own questions? Because, well, if it's for you to, it helps you uh, in your own research, which is very important when you want to look for information in the internet or in books. So when you look at this picture, what do you see? When you look at it, you'll be able to see an empty street in a city. So this street is usually very busy. It is known as the busiest street in the world, and this city is probably the busiest city in the world. But then it looks very empty in this photo because obviously it's lockdown. So I think you all know what lockdown is. What does lockdown mean? Uh, it's it's um, it's the regulations where people need to stay at home, people can already go out, schools are closed, workplaces are closed, and that's what the world did during the pandemic, at the beginning stage of the COVID-19 pandemic. In Malaysia, we refer to it as I think movement restrictions order, MCO, movement control order, I guess. So you ask questions related to this, right? You are able to look at it and then you try to ask questions, and then you try to find out what are the answers to these questions. Now, why do we need to stay at home? How did the lockdown affect our schools? Or how did it affect our economy? So it did have lots of effects on our schools and on our economy. In fact, now in Malaysia, we currently going for another lockdown, at least in certain states. But then there were people who protested against lockdown. It's called anti-lockdown movement. So they say no, we shouldn't have lockdowns. Because it's bad. It's very bad in so many ways. It's bad for our economy. It's bad for our freedom. It's bad for our social life, and all these kind of reasons for them. So do you really agree with these people? Do you think that we shouldn't have lockdowns because it's bad? So think about it. So your task is that you are going to look at the photos of people protesting against lockdown. Like in this picture, these people, they were protesting against lockdown. And then if you notice, there were placards. So what are placards? Now placards are like this. These cards, you see them holding signs. So these can be called placards. So obviously these placards, they have words on it, facts not fear, flatten the fear, and all these sort of meaning of word, all these sort of words. So you try to understand what these words mean, and then you create your own questions related to these words. Like facts not fear. How did they know what facts and what were not facts? Flatten the fear. Like how can we do that? How do we flatten the fear? What does it even mean in the first place? So, and then you try to find the answers to these questions. Obviously, you need to look for answers from the internet. And then you think about the information that you find on the internet. So let's look at the first photo. Now, when you look at this photo, the first question: what does the placard say? There's a placard here in the circle, in the orange circle. Okay, so what does the placard say? It says something here, and what do you think it means? And write one question related to this phrase written on this placard. So let's look at the next photo. So what does the placard say? So this lady, she's holding something here. So what does it say here? As you can see, you can read it slowly. So what do you think it means? Obviously these words that she's holding up on. And then write one question related to it. Okay. So the last photo, okay, so as you can see here, there's another placard. So what does the placard say? Say something here. Then there's a photo, an image, and then there's it continue. The words continue. What does it mean? So what do you think it means? All of this, and obviously again you write one question related to this. Now, so you have all those questions, 3 photos. That means you need to have at least 3 questions. What you do is that you try to find the answers to these questions. You can search your answers from the internet, from YouTube videos, perhaps social media if you think the answers are there. And then you can also look for newspapers or magazines if you have access to these print materials. And then you send your answers to me on this format. So you see there are 3 photos. So the first question is, what does the placard say? So you give your answers to these questions in all 3 photos. And then the second one, what do you think it means? And then the third question is, what is your question? Because when you are required to create questions in all 3 photos that I've shown you. And obviously the last one is for you to give your answers to these questions. So you design your own questions, and I want you to find the answers for these questions. So these are the things that you need to have in your answers that you're going to give to me. So how are you going to give them to me? You can pass it to me on WhatsApp, on Telegram, or emails, which I will tell you later in a more specific way. And then you definitely can always ask me questions. Like we can always exchange some information. So that's all. All the best, guys.